Welcome to episode 2 of the Sprintcar build. Basically, in this episode, I'm going to be doing some simple things that are very important to the dynamics of a sprint car and how a sprint car works. So I'm going to be getting radius rods assembled, rear torsion arms assembled, and getting our wing hydraulic system ready to go. Basically, assembling the wing ram, the wing valve, and the hydraulic hoses and fittings ready to be bolted onto the sprint car. Not too much happens in this episode, but it's basically just the more small important things that are very crucial to a sprint car and how a sprint car works. But in the next episode, as you can see behind me, I get the steering box installed, I get the power steering pump installed, and a few other bits and pieces like the shifter on the car. And as we wait for more pieces to arrive, like our diff and some front end assembly and some other things, we will slowly get the build over the next couple of weeks. So basically right here, this is a hydraulic wing ram kit, and what this does is this ram here helps us move our wings while we are racing. So what it does is this is a valve, runs these lines up from a hydraulic pump to this wing ram, and basically this shaft will mount this heim to the wing tree, and what that'll do is we'll be able to pull this valve while we're racing back and forth to pull the wing back or push it forward. And what this does change the whole aerodynamics of the car and pretty much changes how the car reacts on track. The steering, everything just changes the whole dynamic. Sorry if you can hear the rain in the background. I know it's a pain, but it is raining outside right now. And so basically what I'll do now is I'll get my SP Tools Stanley knife and I'll just slightly cut into the plastic that's holding all this stuff down. This is like Christmas unboxing new race car parts. And this right here is the body of the wing ram. It's got a 10-inch shaft through it. Gives us plenty of travel. And this is all KSC equipment. This is a KSC Stingray wing valve. These things are really, really nice. You can see there, nice KSC Stingray wing valve. And actually it even tells you what way you've got to have the line. So this line here, front, back, and your input, like the line that runs the fluid in, and your return line. So these are really nice. I'm not sure if the Sweet Wing valves have that or anything like that or not, but that's really cool. And so basically what this does is the valve sits in the car like this, and then we're able to pull it, push it forward, back, and forward. Right here, this is a female heim or rod end, whatever you like to call it. Basically what this does is it'll mount just on the top of the wing ram shaft, just like so. And what it is, this piece will now bolt to our wing tree, which pretty much directs the angle of the wing. And yeah, this will be what pushes the wing tree back and forth. As I said, these KSC wing rams are really nice. I'm a big fan of the Sweet stuff, but this is my first time ever working with KSC, and I'm definitely not disappointed. Now right here, what we've got is a crimped all-star wing ram line kit to suit a tall cage chassis, because basically our car is, I believe, 1 inch taller than 1 or 2 inch taller than a standard chassis. And what this does is allows for taller drivers, although I'm quite short, we've had taller drivers in the past, and it allows the tall drivers to fit in the car easily and more comfortably without their helmet sitting out of the cage. And basically these two lines here, I believe, are meant to run to the steering box, but we're going to change them and run different lines. And these lines here are what run to the ram on the chassis from the wing valve. As you can see, these are quite long. I'm not sure what the actual length of them is. And we've got some nice fittings here, some 90 degrees, some straight fittings, all -4, I believe. And these will all go into this KSC Stingray wing valve. So this right here is the next task on the sprint car build. We've got our radius rods and our heims. We're going to be assembling these radius rods. Basically what radius rods do, they're just long rods that you're able to adjust in length to be able to get your front end and rear axle in the perfect position and to hold them in that position. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be assembling these. We're going to get the heims nice and anti-seized and put together. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to keep the right hand heims. As you can see, there's two different style heims. This is right here is a right hand heim. You can tell by these nuts here, they're just a standard hex nut. And whereas with the left hand heim, they've got these little divots in the nut. Get that to focus. Got these little divots in the nut there, and basically what that does is they're left hand threaded heims, so they spin the complete opposite way. And I'll show you what that's for very soon. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get this all cut open. So basically here we've got our radius rods. This is what a radius rod looks like. It's just a nice anodized black rod, and you can see here it's got this knurled little bit for the let me get that to stop focusing. How do I turn off autofocus? You can see right here the radius rods have a nice knurling in the left hand thread of the bar, so then you know when you're putting in your right hand and left hand thread in these heims in these radius rods, you know which side is which thread. So basically what I like to do with my radius rods is I like to get a bit of anti-seize. So right here I've got some high temperature anti-seize, the copper style. We've always used copper and never had a problem with it. So basically that's what it is. And what I'll do is I'll get the brush, I'll get the heim, then just get a nice little bit of anti-seize on the threads. That's probably plenty. Now if anyone knows anti-seize, you know that this is a messy job and this is going to be everywhere by the end of this build. And so just a little bit of anti-seize, that's probably plenty. But I'm going to screw it into my right hand side, my radius rod, and the anti-seize pretty much just helps it thread in nicely and make sure it's always free. So if you have a radius rod for a long time and don't have any seize on it, the steel chromoly heims can corrode and get stuck and they can rust and they won't come out of the radius rods and they're really hard to get out. So basically what we do is we get the anti-seize and make them nice and free. And now I'll get my left hand heim, I'll get a dab of anti-seize on there. That is probably a bit too much, scrape a bit off. And now we screw the other way because it is our left hand thread, so it means it has to thread in the opposite way. And not going to get them tight just yet because they do need to be adjusted on the car to the right lengths. But here, that is basically what an assembled radius rod looks like. I'm trying to get this in frame. Probably grab the longest radius rod. But yeah, that is an assembled radius rod. So now we've got to do all of them. Now as you can see here, this is a bit of a different style radius rod comparing the two. The one on the left is actually made of 4130 chromoly steel, and you can see down here the TIG welds have been powder coated over, and they're actually two threaded bungs on each side and welded together rather than machining a thread into the aluminium like the standard radius rods are. And basically we run these, or some choose to run them, we definitely do, run them on the left front radius rod in case there's an incident on track where someone throws a big old right rear and tries to destroy your front end. This thing is definitely gonna help. Now, the way to tell that where the left-hand thread is on these chromoly radius rods, because they actually don't have the knurling on either side of the bar, is the bung will have this little line cut into it, so you can see that that indicates the left-hand thread. Now, pretty much while I've got my anti-seize out and playing with Heims, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get my rear torsion arms assembled. So basically, with our rear torsion arms, we run a lot stronger 4130 chromoly Heims. These things can hold a punch just in case you smack the wall. It doesn't make your rear end just drop out of the car on the ground, you know, damaging less equipment. Or if you're running the fence and tapping the fence, it's not going to snap a Heim and the chassis drags along the ground and causes more damage. Now this right here are our right and left rear torsion arms, and one way to indicate is the way the bolt head sits. So straight up, the bolt head's on top means the right side. Bolt head on top of this one means the left side, and it's offsetted both different ways. The left rear has a less offset than what the right rear does, and as you can see, it's quite shorter. And so basically what the rear torsion arms do is they hold the diff and pretty much stop it from hitting the ground and the chassis bottoming out. So here we've got our left and right rear torsion arm, and as I said, basically the torsion arm mounts onto the bird cages on the diff, which pretty much holds the axle, which runs a torsion bar through this spline to the torsion stop, which adjusts suspension, weight, and all different sorts of things on the car to change the dynamics of the car, how it works, how it reacts to different situations, and all different sorts of things. And as you can see here, the shocks have these great big holes in them with these divots, and what this does is we put rear torsion arm shock studs in there, and our shocks basically mount on a stud to the chassis and a stud to the rear torsion arm. So now basically what I'm going to do, I've got my rear torsion bars in the rear torsion bar rack, and as you can see, they spin so nice and freely from reaming them yesterday. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my torsion arms. So here I have got my left rear torsion arm, and I'm basically just going to sit that on the torsion bar. As you can see, sits on there just like that, and then what that'll do is that'll sit up here and that Heim will bolt onto the bird cage. And then I'm going to do the same with the other side. And then basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the exact same thing with the right rear. Just sit over there and sit it on the torsion bar spline. One of the best things about getting new torsion arms is how nice the splines are, and they just slip on and off of the torsion bar and make life so much easier. And just like the left rear, this one will have the Heim go straight, and then it will swing up and bolt to the bird cage on the diff. Now that is pretty much it for the second episode. I'm not doing too much per episode, but so I got my radius rods assembled, I got my rear torsion arms sitting on the car, and I also got my wing valve and everything, so not quite sorted. We have some issues with it that we've got to get sorted, and we've got to get some new products. But that's pretty much it for this episode. Next episode, I'm going to be doing some more body mounting and getting some more components on the car and ready to go. Thanks everyone for watching this episode. There wasn't much that happened. It was just some simple things, just showing everyone how some of the smaller things on the car are so crucial to what happens. And basically, we had to send all of our wing assembly back to the manufacturer because there was some issues between two products and they didn't seem to work together, but that's getting sorted, and thankfully they took the products back for now, and so I'm hoping to hear from them by next week. Sorry for my phone in the background. Thank you.